I would probably say that was the most trying years of our marriage.
Yeah, I'd like to say that was the beginning of all this.
Yeah.
Because I remember like knowing how to do ministry and like sincerely with God, not like faking or playing or not like that. I had my years where I did that, and then I had my year, truly devoted to God and the call on my life, but not knowing how to do life outside of church. Mm-hmm. And that is where the questioning began. Okay, who's open?
I'll kick it off.
Okay, good. I'm your host, Greg.
Yeah. Ready?
Uh-huh.
What's up, family? Welcome to R.T.B. Huh?
No, you're supposed to say... Okay. Go ahead.
I was going to do that.
Okay.
Introduce myself?
No, that wasn't it. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right, here we go. Mm-hmm. What's up, family? Welcome to R.T.B, the Restoring the Breach podcast. I'm your host, Greg.
And I'm Cachet,
where we specialize in unlocking the leader inside of you. It's been a long time since we said that.
It has, but it always accidentally comes out for me.
It sounded good.
Yeah.
Season 4.
Yeah.
Season 4.
Wow.
We are excited about what we're going to get into this season.
Mm-hmm.
God has laid something that we believe it's just been revolutionary for us and life-changing. And we're seeing him do it in so many different arenas today, where he has become more real, more personable, and just breaking down the walls of tradition, and so many other things. And so our title for this season is Losing My Religion. Mm-hmm. Now, just that alone, some people will watch this and they've already turned us off. Yeah. Don't click no buttons. They've already called us heretics because they don't.
Well, they might have saw the flyer and was like, I ain't even listening to it. But just some might be intrigued.
If you're watching, you were daring.
Yeah.
Daring. So
this reminds me of when it's a play on words. It reminds me of when Kirk Franklin. Remember, he did an album. He did the album "Losing My Religion," and I remember I didn't want to listen to it.
Me either.
I didn't want to listen to it. Or a good friend of ours was like, I got the album. Do you want to listen to it? You want to check it out? And we were like, we just couldn't, because even though we heard a lot of words about religion versus relationship with God, stuff like that, it still just seemed blasphemous to me. Like it was, I couldn't even listen objectively because I was like, so even if I liked a song or if I heard a song that came from that album, I was like, I just was real.
It's already preconceived ideas.
Yeah, about what it's actually saying. And it's interesting and funny that it came back around to this, full circle.
Yeah. And so here we are.
Yeah.
And we've been on a journey these last
2-3 years.
2-3 years. If you
it
followed
probably goes
us
beyond.
If you followed us through these last couple of seasons, and if you haven't, go back and listen to a lot of that content. But I just remember going over a lot of that content and seeing our growth, seeing our processes, the different things we're going through with our children and relationship through COVID.
This whole thing.
It's real. It's real. But there's been a development process, and there's been a freeing and a liberating, I believe, by the Holy Spirit for us in so many ways.
Oh,
man.
for sure. Absolutely.
Just to live, man. Just to live.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to be diving into this season. But before we do any of that, if you're a new listener or if it's been a while since you've listened to some of the stuff that was a part of our story, we just want to give some background. Where do we start here?
We're married.
I almost started saying in West Philadelphia, born and raised.
No, it's this
story.
background. We've been married 13 years. It'll be 14 in March. We've been together for 14 years.
And it's still spicy.
Everything happened rather quickly, I'd like to say. Once the ball got rolling, we knew each other for a long time. He was like a brother in Christ, literally.
Growing up in church together.
Yeah. This is why this is such a personal story, because we really went through a bulk of this kind of together in our own way, and it you would never have thought that we'd end up together. Some people say, I knew, but there was no signs of us ever being together. No. So, it surprised us too. I woke up for at least 5 years looking across the bed like, I can't believe I married him. It was not what I thought. Not that he isn't a handsome specimen, but he was like a little brother.
Yeah.
He was. And so we have 5 kids, and we've done ministry together for, years.
Yep. On the worship team together.
Uh-huh.
Served as youth leaders. So many aspects.
Ministers.
Yeah.
Did all the things.
Yep. Yep.
And though we knew, it's not that we did not know God, but I feel like this season in our lives has been like a freeing to know God differently. And I'd dare to say much better than it ever has been before.
Yeah. And I think, I know, let me change my language here. I know that God has called us to use our voice to free people. We've been in leadership roles, and none of these credentials we're throwing out is to puff us up, but it's to paint a picture of
half of it.
What we talk about is coming.
I don't want to do it.
No, this is us painting a picture of our experience.
Yeah.
And that and we're not looking at this stuff from this outsider peripheral perspective. We know about the politics of ministry.
Yeah.
We know about the struggles of being able to make decisions as you're growing in life.
Yeah.
And you're wrestling with all your church responsibilities, but now you have life responsibilities that conflict with it. Things like this are what we know.
Inside.
Yeah.
We know the inside and the outside inside. So this is what I mean by that.
Yeah.
The inside is like the leadership, like the deep stuff, like you're in the meetings and all of that stuff. And then there is a place that I call like you're inside because you're in leadership, but you may be becoming viewed as an outsider because you may not be, conforming to certain things.
Yeah.
We've been in both of those.
Yeah, where they call you a rebel or
a maverick. We've been inside and outside inside.
Yeah. And that's what we want. That's what we want to talk about. We want to be able to. People are struggling with these things every day. There are some folks that have walked away from the faith.
Yeah.
Because of their experiences. There are some people that are completely foreign to this lifestyle, to being a believer in Christ. What is that?
Yeah.
And so we want to paint a picture of who Christ truly is, who God the Father truly is, what the Holy Spirit is to us, and what a gift He is for us.
Yes.
And just how to live, man, how to be a parent, how to be a husband and wife, how to desire a relationship in the right way, how to walk in your singleness the proper way in preparation for a relationship if you want to, how to take, just living, just to get control of it again.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just how to really do life with God.
That's real.
Whatever space you're in.
Yeah.
Like learning how to just do life with God, I think has been made so much more difficult than it actually is. And it has been an unlearning for me too. Like, if we want to, I wanted to get into our background in ministry in the way of, like, what was your experience in church, like, from your what age and your experience with God in church?
All right, so let's get into it, because we've been given a lot of intro paragraphs, so we'll just dive into the meat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started going to church probably around 4 or 5. Five. I was in definitely kindergarten, first grade. 5, 6. And in that same ministry from childhood all the way up until marriage.
Yeah.
But through that time frame, from childhood, I was in everything. Youth choir. We did everything. As kids, we did street ministry.
We did everything.
Every single thing.
We
and it was such
for 8 days a week.
But we loved it. That's what we knew. The culture was a place where we grew. It was our introduction to who Jesus is.
Yeah.
It was our introduction to servanthood and the servant leadership. And it was just what we lived, man. I took it into even in high school when I started playing basketball. high school basketball, man, I told my coach that I couldn't come to practice on Friday nights because it was youth night.
Yeah.
And that's the level of devotion.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure if I was in that same place and I made it in the NFL, I'd probably be like, man, I can't play.
Yeah.
I got to go to church on Sunday. Can we have these games? I'll be on Monday Night Football, Thursday night. I'll be at all the practices, but Sunday I can't come.
Yeah.
And so that's just one of those pictures of like, that's the level of devotion and commitment that you know I had to everything ministry focused.
Yeah.
And
everything.
And then from there, you know, so it progressed into, we'll fast forward to going to college. Had some new experiences with college.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
We'll dive into that. I want to give everything away for the upcoming year. But that was one of those, a precursor. That was one of my fork in the road experiences. Yeah. And where it really challenged my theology, challenged my understanding of who God is to me.
That was the first space for you.
It challenged my perception of church leaders, where I place them in my life. What does it mean to honor your leader versus still making decisions for yourself? When are you out of the will of God? When are you in the will of God?
You're talking
What's the
about
perfect
all
will
the
of God?
stuff.
You know, I ain't getting into it.
No, I'm just saying he's given all like these.
I gotta juicy it up.
These are the things that plague us daily when you are like in church, and you're saved a lot of the time, especially when you come from like we did. Like, let me just say that Greg was like the poster boy of like. When we look back at the videos where he was praying, man, everybody was all clapping. He was praying hellfire and brimstone. I was cussing people out real gently. A way. God, for people who said that they ain't got no reason to be happy, God.
I get embarrassed.
He was so
just thinking of that.
Intense. But Greg was like so saved. If you guys ever met somebody or you see somebody in church and they're like, if anybody had like what son did they want? What do they want their son to be like? Or like he was just a good Christian young man.
Then life happens.
Greg's like, please. He got his stories is good. Greg has like this little bit, and he ran back to Jesus every single time. He was the son that stayed in the house at the prodigal son. He was not the prodigal son. But that was how I think that's how you developed into who you are today, though. Like, he's still a really great guy, a man of God and stuff, you know. Now, I just feel like I maybe tainted you a little.
Oh, you tainted me a lot.
A little bit. I get a kick out of knowing that. I feel like I'm like, thank you.
One part of my life I've learned to embrace, and I think I said this on a post before, you know, if a Christian hip hop artist, The Truth, had a song called "My Testimony," and then the hook of the song says, "I don't got no horror story. God kept me as a youth. I give Him all the glory. Though my story wasn't dope, but now I know the blood of the Lamb has saved my soul. That's my testimony." And that's pretty much what I think. I said all those.
I thought you was going to rap.
Truth, if I messed your lyrics up, man, I apologize. But, you know, we'd love to have you on the podcast. Just a plug. But anyway, that was my life. I feel like God had this covering on me for a lot of different things, man. There were things I feel like that He didn't even allow me to have a taste or desire for. It wasn't like temptation was dangling before me and I was foaming at the mouth, struggling to walk that way. There were some things with that. But for the most part, God kept me covered. Yeah. And I believe it was to allow me to grow in a certain space. Yeah. I wouldn't be the man that I am today if God didn't do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there could have been a lot of other lanes I took that would have tainted my perception of myself and of other people. Yeah. And then it would have been a little more work getting back to where I'm supposed to get to. Yeah. You know, so I wear that. You don't have a whole lot of scars as a badge of honor. Yeah. You know.
You should.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now you, on the other hand.
Listen here. My story is kind of similar. My family, it's hard to explain the dynamic because I was from, my parents were divorced. So I had two different sides of the spectrum when it came to God. So one side, which was my mom's, I had my grandma my great grandmother, sorry, who brought Jesus to the family. Mm-hmm. And she was like real intense. She's still alive. Very intense with God and who he was and stuff like that. And then there's the other side where my grandma and my family went to church, but then they, did their thing the rest of the week. And it was more of a belief, but like not an actual walking out and living. So it was like two different sides of the spectrum as far as God was concerned. So I didn't really, there was always something. My mom was saved, and she always used to say, you only went two places when you were a baby. Your first place was church, your second was a doctor, or vice versa, something like that. But there was that side who, it could be very intense, and then my dad's side that was real, chill about Jesus. But there was always something with me where, my mom, she would watch Joyce Meyer, Ivy Hilliard, different preachers on Sundays and stuff, and she would talk to me about God. And I remember at a young age, we'd be watching Joyce Meyer before I went to elementary school. And when she would talk about repenting, I always felt like I needed to, even though I didn't know why or didn't know what I did. I always there was always something inside that was curious about it. And a lot of that I enjoyed church when I went. I liked the music part, of course, it makes sense. But I didn't, it didn't really get activated until I started at the church that you and I went to. So when I was about 13, we started going to a church because my uncle had passed away. We went there. My whole family had been looking for a church, and the Spirit of God was there. Everybody kept talking about the music and stuff, and it became our church home. And I always say that my uncle died to get me there because, that was the first time I felt the Spirit of God. Lots of things happened, too long of a story to say, but just a lot of different things happened. I ended up being on the worship team, over the youth worship team. Then eventually I became the minister of music. And this was youth nights. I was 19 when I became a minister. Yeah. Youth nights it was just life there. That was my place, so much that I almost alienated my friends. I brought my friends there, but I didn't do a lot of stuff outside of there because we were like a family. We were always together all the time, but God was really moving. That was where we really learned the Spirit of God. I didn't get baptized then because I was real bougie about that. That's another story.
We want to get our hair wet.
I was young. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and I just always had this sense of God, and God really, my family, my mom's side was dreamers, so God always revealed himself in that way to me. So I knew that he was real, and it kind of changed from this a relationship or just what I saw as church, go to church Sunday, but, live however, to this serious relationship with God. And God was revealing things to me and showing me things at a very young age. I remember my grandma bought me a Bible, and when I would read, I would cry. I don't know why I was crying. It's and God made Adam and Eve. The Spirit of God was pricking my heart. And so my experience really began, that really, really activated once I started going there for real. There was always something, but I couldn't quite, my mom always played all the music and stuff, but it didn't really get activated and awakened, to say, until then. And so we were serious about it. We were there all the time, all the time.
Absolutely.
And, it started to change once we got married and started having babies.
Well, that's when life comes. The 8-day-a-week commitment that we would give as teenagers up, all
And
the
young
way
adults
through.
too.
Yep, teenagers, young adults into adulthood, and then you step into the world of matrimony.
Yeah.
And that shift takes
Yeah.
into effect because you're not able to devote the same level of time. So there's a conflict, a wrestle, and you've been able to balance the two.
Yeah.
And that was I would probably say that was the most trying years of our marriage.
Yeah. I'd like to say that was the beginning of all this.
Yeah.
Because I remember like knowing how to do ministry. And like sincerely with God, not like faking or playing or not like that. I had my years where I did that, and then I had my year, truly devoted to God and the call on my life, but not knowing how to do life outside of church. Mm-hmm. And that is where the questioning began.
Yeah.
That's where all of this, I like to say, started.
Yeah.
Because we both had different wrestles. You remember that? Mm-hmm. There was a day, I will not ever forget, baby. You probably remember this. Remember when we were in the bookstore? We were in Family Christian Bookstore, and you were looking for anything.
Yeah.
Greg was we had just had we might have had 2 kids by then. We might have just had 1. I don't know. But
you
1
always
to 2.
remember this too.
Because it was it was a moment where I seen a level of desperation. Mm-hmm. Our life was changing. And so we didn't know how to balance life and ministry and family, because you were a minister. I don't know if you were a minister yet. No, but we were still like heavily involved. Mm-hmm. And I remember Greg in Family Christian Bookstore, because he didn't have anyone to talk to ask these questions, because we weren't getting what we needed in that way.
And the questions were, so we'll provide a little context.
I was getting ready to get, but go ahead. It'll come from your
perspective. The struggle that we're talking about, and she said it, the word is balance. Mm-hmm. So let's make that clear if that is not enough context. We were trying to figure out how to be committed to ministry.
Full
church
time.
Responsibilities throughout the week. And those church responsibilities can consist of Wednesday night Bible study, being a youth leader on Friday nights, our Sunday commitments, and then we're not talking about
worship team.
Extra responsibilities or programming. Our church did
a lot of revivals.
Yeah,
they wanted us at everything.
So and then with that, outside of the church, as Shay already mentioned, we're trying to balance how to have our own resting time, spend time together. We had kids at the time,
just raise the babies,
to raise our children.
It was just
and so the struggle and the balance, the wrestle was there. As a man, my struggle with the balance was when in those moments, those fork in the road moments where I have to make a choice to choose not to commit to a church responsibility that I usually would have committed to and choose my home first.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting that teaching in church to direct and guide a man on, what do I do in this?
Yeah.
When I was looking for some black and white answers on when is it okay to say no to my church leaders, and when is it okay to say no to my wife?
Yeah.
And how can I decipher the two? And so I picked a book up that was on the rack, as she was starting to say, and it was a pastor, and he described how the importance of having a balance in life, and how he said that a balance isn't always, I think this is where that whole 50-50 concept came from. But he said he made sure that the commitment that he had to his family was so devoted. And he invested so much into his family that in those moments, for example, his son had a baseball game or something along those lines. And he told his son, I'm sorry, I'm really not going to be able to make it to this game. I want to beat her so badly. And you know what his son's response was? Dad, that's okay. I know you'll make it to the next one. And I know that seems simple.
Yeah.
But that spoke such a volume to me that he built a trust in a relationship with his children.
Yeah.
That his children didn't look at Dad and say, oh man, here he goes again choosing church. He made sure that there was an investment in his family enough that if he had to choose outside of home for this particular occasion, that they understood that this is important.
Yeah.
The dad has to do this, but we still have Dad's back, but Dad will also still invest and support us as well.
He's still here for us too. And I think that is a lot of children who are parents or leaders and like, in ministry and stuff like that, and like roles that are more demanding, they don't always get that.
Yeah.
There's definitely a struggle there. And so that spoke volumes. That is one of the things that really attracted me to Transformation Church, because the pastor, as devoted as he is and his leadership is to the call and the purpose that God has there, they are equally, if not more, devoted to their home. And it was the first time that I actually saw in action, your family comes first.
Yeah.
Because the Bible says that your first ministry is home, but it is often not portrayed well in ministry.
So this actually takes me to something we've been quoting a lot lately, that Pastor Tim Ross said. And he was talking about the importance of wearing your wedding ring. Your wedding ring the ring itself does not make you married. It's an inward commitment, an inward covenant that creates the marriage. The ring is the outside expression. It lets everybody else know that you're married. And so it takes me to this, that, we can say that we're committed. We can say that we love our family, that our household comes first. And that could be words that come out your mouth, but what truly expresses it is the outward expression. If I say I love my wife, then I have to express to her outwardly that I love her. I can't say that I love her and never spend time with her, never cater to her needs. We never, never dating, never intimate. We got to get intimate, man. Intimacy is important. Y'all gonna hear a lot about this year. If you tired,
if you ever watch us, he will. What?
I didn't even mean it in that way. But I mean it in that way. We do it. He
did mean it.
Yeah. No, for real. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at it. Do you go find a happy couple that don't do it? I'll wait. I ain't seen one. The husbands that got the Cheshire Cat smile was the ones that's getting some loving. That's a necessity.
Oh my god.
But I digress.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I don't even know where we at. Where was we at on that?
See, look, you got thrown off talking about, but we do it. I ain't even.
No, I was thinking about earlier today. That's real. But anyway, it's a necessity. So what I express outwardly, there we go. Yeah. What I express outwardly has to be a reflection of my inward commitment.
Yes.
And what we see in relationship, in leadership, a lot of times the lack that we see outwardly is because of something wrong with the commitment internally.
Yeah.
If you don't truly believe it, then you're not going to demonstrate integrity.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to invest in people. Then you're not going to put other people first. That you're not going to love yourself. Let's make sure that's important. We got to make sure we make that because that's one of those myths in terms of religion.
Yeah.
That you can't love yourself.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive into a lot of that too later on.
Oh my goodness, that is huge for me. That one. Let me just say real quick, this year through therapy. I'm finally learning to love myself and that be okay.
Shout out to therapy.
Yeah, because sometimes you need that. There's been a great amount of unlearning.
We all need therapy.
Yeah.
I've been getting therapy through your therapist.
He has. When I come back telling him stuff that she's saying, he's like,
Absolutely.
But it really has been that important.
Yeah.
And I see a change happening like in my life, my way of thinking. Literally, when the Bible talks about renewing your mind, transformation, like that is what God has been doing in this time, because for instance, when we talk about the loving yourself thing, I always felt like it was wrong. Like you're not supposed to, because then, you think, well, you're not humble if you love yourself. And it sounds crazy saying it out loud now, but that's not true. And so
but we're doing our intention today and what we do is to provide information that frees people up. That a lot of times we don't do these things because nobody's ever affirmed us in those.
Yeah.
If nobody tells me, bro, go home and love on your wife. But the only information that I get externally is be at the church.
Yeah.
Devote your time to serving people in your community.
Kingdom, this is
go to work. If everything that I hear is telling me as a man is defined by what he does outside, and I'm not getting affirmed from a different way, whether it's me reading books, getting information from people online, having friends or mentors that are giving me that information, then all I know is what I'm told.
Yeah.
And so the way that we debunk those myths is by giving biblically sound information and life skills, stuff that's going to say, yo, it's okay when you're grieving to feel pain.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to want it to stop.
Yeah.
You're not wrong for that. And then but what we do is we say I need to shut those feelings down, shut those emotions down. No, it's a natural part of your process.
Yeah, that's me. I don't like feelings I like to get past it.
But embracing it, and then
helps you.
Exactly. Embracing it and saying, okay, I'm not going to fight against the emotion or how I feel in this moment. How I overcome it is saying I recognize that that's a natural component of me, but it will not control me.
Yeah.
It's just like it's what our emotions are. God has given us these emotions as signifiers of certain things, whether it's fear, discernment for whatever may be happening. They're all tools,
Pain,
but they're not
tears.
supposed to be our steering wheel. They're our engine.
Yeah.
To help the vehicle move.
That reminds me of every time that I hear about like emotions not controlling, it reminds me when we were young. You remember there was a girl in our youth group and she cried all the time. Do you remember that?
Mm-mm.
You
my memory is bad.
If I tell you, if I say the name,
but don't do that.
No, I'm not going to say it here. If I say it later, you'll be like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
She was the example of like your emotions just always.
Oh man.
Every time that I hear that, I think about her. She cried all the time. Something was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I think that wraps up pretty much us.
Oh man. Hey, we told you. But the most important piece today was for you to get to know us.
Yeah.
And we always live to invite you on this journey. Every season is a new journey.
It is.
You guys are doing life with us.
Yeah.
You're going to hear some of the stuff that's going to be happening to us throughout the week, throughout the month.
Yeah.
And that's what we live for. To be able to share real life with you, but to show you that you can conquer it.
Yeah.
That you can get victory. Our oldest son is a video game head. He loves Fortnite. And I challenged him. I found a way to connect with him. Y'all got to pay attention to this. We know that he was not giving 100% effort in a specific subject. So you know what I told him? I said, man, everything in life is a battle royale. A battle royale. And what you need to do is to get the victory royale. So in Fortnite, that means you got number one in that battle against everybody else. And you know what he did? He told me today, he said, Daddy, I went to school and I got the victory royale. And he won. He won the little bingo game.
He did.
He had his little sour gummy worms and stuff.
He did that he didn't want to share with nobody.
But he won. He applied it. And so that's what we want to do. We want to get you to get the victory royale in life.
Yeah.
Let's go,
to have a life that is full.
Yes.
It's not one-sided.
That's real.
Oh, I almost said something, but it's for the next.
Oh, man. You're meant to be number one in your life. There's nobody like you. You are unique.
Yeah.
You're not ready-made, which means that you are a robot created like everybody else. You're not a fast food joint. God has custom designed you and designed us for specific purposes, and that's what we want you to be to tap into throughout this season.
Oh, that's good.
It's gonna be good.
I love it.
All right,
it's gonna be great.
We know, but it's important, man, to continue to follow. Go back and listen to some of the old content. Get caught up because it's only gonna help you on this journey. All right. So we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We want to provide intentional. It's been a long time. It's so good to be back with you. But intentional living.
Intentional leadership.
Intentional leadership for intentional living, man. Y'all know what it is, man. So take care.
God bless.
All right. God bless.
Hey, before you go, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video.